Hello, everybody. I'm Jalen, and here we are back in my hardcore world here, and I'm just gonna pick right back up where we left off on episode 1. I'm really liking the concept we got going here with this little Bavarian Mainstreet idea, and today I want to get a couple buildings added in here, and I also want to get started on the process of getting some villagers brought over and get that process going, but I'm just going to jump right in doing some work here, starting by putting some work in on this road. I put this in at the end of last episode, but I didn't really plan it out very well. I was just trying to get it down to kind of show my idea, but I end up putting a good amount of little work in here getting this figured out. And I wanted it to extend up this way a little bit, so I chopped a few trees to make some room, and it ends up being quite the project here, actually, using lots of my deep slate that I built up in my last episode. And I didn't want to have a completely right angle here, so I kind of got this big angle going on, and it does kind of change my view. I was planning on just having buildings all the way around, but now I'm thinking I'm going to kind of leave this angle over here open, and it'll be cool to have at the end of the street so you can see the sunset when it happens. And just to make things a little less claustrophobic when we get all the buildings put in here. But I'm still sleeping through my nights, trying to stay as safe as possible. Well, I did keep my head down at work, and I was quickly realizing that I was going to need a bunch more resources. So I made a trip down to the mines and just did a little strip mining, mainly to get some deep slate. I did find a couple diamonds along the way. Actually a decent vein here. I think I ended up with 8 on this trip, so slowly but surely I'm building my diamonds up for my armor. Got a bunch of tuff while I was down there, as well as some cobblestone, just clearing out my mine area and the stairway down. And then I got back to road building. I like the idea of having the street go off in 2 different directions rather than have it just be one long straight line just to break things up. And I'll need to do some adjusting over here, but if I was to fill up this whole street, both sides, I would consider that a very successful hardcore world. And today we're going to get started on filling up the streets a little bit. I'm just laying out kind of the general area where I want to put these buildings here. Give you an idea of what I plan on. One on the left's going to be the farm building, and this is going to be for my armors and smiths and all that. And then over here, I'm actually going to turn this in for my masons, so this will be where my stone masons are. And I'm planning on this being my general base of operations here, and obviously I didn't get very far in getting that set up, but I'm actually going to use this as a staging area, kind of a temporary villager hall, just to get some villagers bred up. And put a little work in, just getting the floor filled in, and put my top floor in just while I'm here, might as well. And I am excited to turn this into my little base, but I'm going at things a little different order than I do in my Let's Play world. I'm not quite as rushing the interiors and all that. Probably be doing a lot of that next episode, I'm thinking, but we definitely have a nice setup up here to get something cool built eventually. But I was wanting to get to work on bringing some villagers over, and I was just about out of iron, which I was going to need some iron because I need to make some rails to be able to do some transporting. So did some digging around at level 16, hoping to find some iron, figuring I probably wouldn't find much, but also get some cobblestone along the way. But I kept opening up into these water caves, which was annoying, but I did find some exposed iron. I did end up just mining a long straight line as well, just to get some cobblestone while I was down here, and didn't find much iron that way. 28 in that whole trip is not very much, but it's enough to get my rails done. But then I realized I needed some gold because I needed some powered rails, so back I go to the mines. I had remembered there were a few areas of exposed gold that I didn't get, including on the stairway down. And I knew I had passed up on some in my glitched out ancient city down here from last episode. Those who didn't see it, I've got an ancient city here with essentially no shriekers. So it's just a nice, peaceful, ancient city. You gotta watch out for mobs from the side, but they don't spawn in the middle of the city, which is real cool. And I dug up the gold there, and it was right on top of some diamonds, so that was a nice little bonus. So I'm working towards having enough to get my diamond set of armor made, which will be nice to have, and I'll always take a skeleton head when you can find it. They're pretty rare since I've never messed with trident or anything to use the charged creepers for heads, so I'll take a head when I can find it. And I found a few more diamonds, so picking away here. And then I was lighting up the area a little bit, and I found this shrieker here, which I knew there was a couple, but they seemed to be very far and few between. And I got rid of this guy here, and was really thinking I did a lot to make the area safer, and I'll do that whenever I find them. But I was going to keep exploring, then I saw this other one right here. Set it off. I don't want to mess with setting a shrieker off of the... Ooh, and I forgot the Enderman almost got me there. But I don't want to set a shrieker off for the third time, so I'm not going to do any more exploring down there and get out of there for now. But I was 1 diamond short of having enough for diamond armor, so I did this whole line here, went quite the long ways, didn't find a single diamond. And then I was digging around just the entrance to my mine here, and I found 1 single diamond in the wall. Not a vein, not even 2 together, just a single diamond. So in one way I feel lucky, but it's also annoying that it's not veins. But we did end up with just enough to get my diamond set of armor made here. And definitely got me feeling a lot better, quite the upgrade. Now I gotta work towards getting them enchanted, and I would usually jump right to the enchanting table, but I'm going to try to work with villagers this time. I will use the enchanting table eventually, but we're going to try to do villagers first. So go ahead and get my rails made that I've worked so hard for. Then I just got going on a little rail system here so that I can travel out to the village that I found in episode 1 and just bring them on over and send them up the hill. Turn this into a little villager trading hall for the time being. If not this episode, we'll have them out of here pretty soon and into their own little buildings. But yeah, I had to take a nice little journey all the way over to the village. It's a good little boat ride. Now this is a slow little boat ride. I wish they made this go just a little bit faster, or I wish you could use leads on villagers, or that they would follow you if you had carrots or something like that. They got to make it a little easier to bring a villager to follow you around, I think. Maybe there's ways I don't realize that they've upgraded, but we're just going the old-fashioned way for now. I made our way back, and now we just got to try to not hit him when we clear the boat and push him into the cart here and send him to his new home for the time being. Make sure it goes up. I didn't even test the cart, but yeah, plenty of power, got him in there, and now we repeat the process. And I didn't realize that the sun was going down, and I probably shouldn't have gone into the village at nighttime or just about nighttime because I don't want to kill these villagers off. But I think I lucked out pretty good, so chop the wheat down, put boat on top, and it'll bring the villager out right to the boat and take him for a little ride. Now we've got Grandma and Grandpa. These will be the starts of all the villagers from here on out in our little city here. Went ahead and just planted some carrots in here for now, temporarily, since this is just where I'm keeping them safe, and put a few beds down. So now, once they have enough carrots, which I went and farmed my own and gave them what I had left over, they should keep breeding as long as there's beds there. And more on that later. And yeah, the few carrots I gave them seemed to be enough. I thought they were going to need more than that. And got our first little baby here. So, happy to have that process started, but I want to do my favorite thing to do, which is build. We're going to build a building for the farmers here, and I want to have a little bit of just kind of a farm stand hanging off the front, so I just pushed it back a block or two to give myself a little bit of space when the time comes, and made it match on the other side. And And I just got building here, and I'm just going to let you enjoy the process for a second. And I was liking the start we got going here. Kind of chunky in places, which I adjust a little later, but definitely working for the face of the building. But I went to sleep, got back up and got back to work, working on the farm stand here. And then I forget what I was coming in here to get organized for, but I had an unpleasant surprise. That could have been the end of the series right there. But although I survived, glad I had my diamond armor. We lost Grandma and Grandpa. I was super sad, and I was wondering where they came from, and then I realized that I didn't put torches up here when I put the floor in, and that's the only place he could have came from. So lesson learned there. I will be doing that as I put the floors in from here on out. So I had to do the whole villager process again, which was really annoying, and it was actually a setback in more ways than one here, because I brought him back, and luckily the baby had grown up, so I did have my 2 villagers, but I had used all my carrots to get those other ones going, so these villagers are starting completely fresh, so I have to get them enough carrots to be wanting to breed again. So definitely set back my villager process a little bit. But I just got back to work, filling in the buildings on the sides and the other side. Definitely noticing just going up in scale a little bit really has me going through the resources at a very fast rate. I feel like I've chopped quite a few spruce trees, and I've gotten so much deep slate, and I'm surprised I've gone through the vast majority of it. But I am realizing how much easier doing roofs like this is, and less resource intensive. And I think it looks all right. I got a good little start here, and we'll get going on this other building in just a second, but I figured I better spend a little time just doing some chores and odd jobs. You can't be building all the time. And I wanted to work towards just making it a little easier on myself when these villagers are ready to start getting transported around. So I got taking away my little cart system from back here and transferring it to the front so that I'd be able to send them to the correct buildings eventually. But I will reiterate just how annoying it is having those first couple die, because it really slowed the process on getting them breeding there. Also, another mistake that I will let you know about in a second. But yeah, I also, once again, was really low on iron, so I actually took a trip up to the mountains here hoping to find some exposed iron, and ended up in a nice snowstorm here, which I always like the snow in Minecraft, and I haven't built in a snow biome in a while, so I might need to do that here soon. But I did find a few caves up here, which had a decent amount of exposed iron, even if I was having to kill a few mobs here and there to make it happen. But at this point with my armor, I'm feeling a little more comfortable doing things like that. We ended up with 39 iron, which I figured would get me through the episode here. Then I wanted to get a fence around my little crop field here, so I needed to clear a few trees out of the way, which that worked out because I do need a bunch of spruce wood. I'm going through that really fast. I just laid the fence around, making sure that villagers can't get out and zombies can't get in, so eventually I'll be able to release the villagers in here. And I'll come back and make it look a lot prettier. Obviously, I'm going a little different than I do in my Let's Play world. Like I said earlier, I'm not focusing so much on the details early on, but I'm thinking next episode will be a detail-heavy episode. And then I got hydrating the crop fields up here. I missed the clip of me putting all the water in, but you can see I've got it all laid out, but I needed to get rid of all the podzol to actually be able to plant it here in a second. But I did spend this night lighting up the area again. As I've been building, I've been covering up some of my lighting, and I realized that a lot of the lighting I put down in episode 1 I had taken away, so I wasn't very safe. And I needed to get the roofs lit up. That's always real important. So, but yeah, I got the podzol taken out and replaced with dirt and got it all tilled up, so I've got a decent little crop field up here at this point. Then I put in a few pens for some animals. I think my last series it took 64 days and 57 this time, so I did a little better to actually get going on some animals. There was a wannabe sheep right there. But yeah, I don't know why I'm procrastinating so much on my animals. I'm just not using them, especially since I'm not working on cows, focusing on the enchanting table early like usual, since I'm going to be trying to work with villagers. Speaking of cows, I had to go all over the place to find them. The sheep and the one chicken came easy, but finding these cows was tough, so I was exploring just along the shorelines here, and I ended up checking out this cave over here. I've been wanting to come over and check this out, and this is pretty cool. It goes back here quite a ways. I really don't see myself doing anything with it, but it is a cool cave, and I know I've had lots of people asking for the seed, which I'll put on the screen right now. I was gonna hold off for a little while just because I really don't want anyone telling me where anything is, so please don't do that, but I didn't want to hold it from you because I do agree it's a very cool seed, so hope you enjoy, and I'd love to see what anybody does with it. And yeah, well, I'm ready to get back into building here. Get a good night's rest and get going on what's going to be the building for our armors and toolsmiths and weaponsmith. I think I'm going to have them all in this one little building, at least for starts. Yeah, I wanted to make it a little bit of a wider building, so I extended it just a little bit, and we'll be making an adjustment here, pretty big adjustment in a second, but yeah, same old process as the other buildings. I'm trying to have them all go together nicely, but as you can see, changing up the color palettes and materials for all of them, but kind of building in a similar style. I do change the roof on this one, which actually ends up looking really cool, but we'll get there in a second. And I also really like how the granite ended up looking on this one here. I think it just looks really good. This is actually one of my favorite color palettes, is granite colors and cobblestone variants and spruce. I think they just go really good together. And the adjustment I was talking about was I ended up punching out this little room here that is exposed to the street, and that's where the armors and toolsmiths are actually going to be working, and where the forge is going to be and all that good stuff, which I'm not going to go into this episode. Like I said, I think next episode I'm just going to kind of have a detail heavy episode, but I really like the idea here, and I just kept at work putting the building together. I really like some of the roundedness we're getting in a lot of the windows in these buildings here. I think it just looks really good. And when I pop down here, I actually kind of liked the flat roof up there. I thought it just stood out as something kind of different, so I ended up just taking that and running with it. Used some stairs just to add a little bit of interesting shape here, and I think it actually ends up working out really good, giving it a little bit of a castle feel, which I think is appropriate for being a blacksmith area. I really like how it came out here. And I'm just really liking how well the ideas coming to fruition here of Mainstreet. Just imagine getting some buildings added as you go down. Feels like a can't miss base. But I spent a little time just tidying things up a little bit, filling in some of the uneven ground. I am just using cobblestone, figuring that it will eventually be replaced when I really want to end up making things looking good, but it's a good base stone just to get something down and something that has slabs so I can use less resources. And I ended up working on the road. I didn't finish the sidewalk last time I was working, and lighten things up, and then I decided I wanted to just extend the boardwalk here. I don't know if I'm going to keep this. I might end up putting a building here. I don't know quite how I'm going to work this little end over here this time, but I figured for now just get a nice little border on with a fence, and it will look a lot better for now, and I probably will end up just keeping it this way, but it won't be too tough to replace later if I want to do something different. Then I spent a good amount of time just putting some texture on the road here. Give you an idea of how slow this process really is. And I did this whole little section of road here. Just the deep slate and the deep slate bricks, but just having the two different variants ends up really making a big difference when you compare it to the completely deep slate road. So yeah, we're not going to have time for this episode. I got set back with my villagers. I'm trying to have each episode be between 30-35 days, so we're going to have to attack the villagers here next episode. And the reason for that is because they weren't breeding this whole time because I didn't have beds down. So that's kind of frustrating, actually. The creeper blew up a couple, and I ended up taking one with me, and I just wasn't thinking of the fact that I was wanting the villagers to breed up, so... And just a couple more details down here, putting in a couple street lamps with some little hanging baskets hanging off, and I think that actually ended up looking really cool. And then, as always, just getting some greenery around. Always a nice finishing touch. And I want to have a few little kind of garden areas off to the sides wherever I can make it work. Now, I don't know if this will be permanent, depending on what kind of building I put here next, but I just think getting a little bit of decoration down here. And yeah, I'm super happy with these two buildings here. I really like the two different roof types, and I'm just real excited for this whole area down here. This is probably the best I've ever done at creating that city vibe. I've set out to do it a few times before, and I've done some cool things, but I really think this Mainstreet idea and just having the buildings so tight-knit and close together is really making the difference. And the going up in scale a little bit really makes a huge difference compared to what I've done before. So I'm just really looking forward to this area expanding. Now, like I said, next episode, I plan on just doing some details. Like, we didn't get any of this done, or we don't have any of our interiors done, and they're definitely set up to be some cool projects. So I don't know how far I'll get, but I think next episode I'm not going to build any new builds. I'm just going to work on the builds I've got so far, as well as get these villagers organized and start trading with them a little bit. My goal is to by episode 100 at least have some emeralds built up and be able to trade for some good iron tool or diamond tools. Sorry, can't talk. Diamond tools and armor and all that good stuff. But that's all we got time for today. So as always, I appreciate you all for coming, and have a good day.